Season 5, Episode 35 of Bracket Bubbles and Bid Steelers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Litzkin. Jackson Bezdek is with us tonight. Jackson, thank you for joining us for the second straight year after the great early season event.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sam. Liddy, good to see you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
We have to start tonight with what literally just happened minutes ago. We are on really good timing right now. We got this thing started really fast. I think we've said a lot. We're going to start this pod right after the game, and we end up dilly-dallying and starting around 15 minutes after the game ends. Tonight, we got this pod started minutes after the game ends. Duke and Kentucky. Kentucky pulls out the big win. I said on the podcast that Duke's personnel advantage was clear. I do think that still remains to be true, but Kentucky played a really good basketball game tonight, Jonathan.
Yeah, I was really, really impressed, and it's part of the reason why I said that I didn't really know what to expect on Sunday night when we were talking about this, because Andrew Carr was Kentucky's best player tonight, and he probably was like the fifth or sixth guy that I would have guessed was Kentucky's best player. And like,
UC Riverside is on right now.
I texted you, Sam, during the game and said like, why didn't we realize that like Mark Pope's system would maximize a guy like Andrew Carr, like sort of similar to the way that they used like Noah Waterman last year at BYU. But yeah, it is surprising even in the Pope system how well that team is connected this early in the season. And I'm a huge Jackson Robinson fan. They didn't even really get anything from him tonight. It was a lot of Carr, a lot of Butler. Amari Williams had some good moments. They had a lot of guys that had good moments, but that's one of the things that's going to be the defining point for this Kentucky team this year is they are so deep. They have so many guys that can get a bucket for you, maybe not on their own, but within that system, it allows for so many opportunities for different guys moving all around the floor.
I was definitely impressed with Kentucky tonight. As you said, Andrew Carr. It's not even the whole Noah Waterman thing. I mean, Noah Waterman averaged 8 points a game last year.
Right.
Andrew Carr is significantly more talented offensively, just more well-rounded game, better passer, better with the ball in his hands, driving to the basket than Noah Waterman is. That was a fit that I think I remember. We said there was somebody said early in the offseason, like Andrew Carr, something outrageous about Andrew Carr, and I texted you like, "What on earth is this?" Like maybe looking back on that, we should have seen this coming. You're right about the whole Andrew Carr situation. I thought Otega Owe really epitomized toughness for Kentucky tonight. And yeah, I'm not quite as big on Jackson Robinson as you are, but they didn't need him tonight. They didn't need what they got from him tonight. He missed a wide open three late in the second half that I think a lot of people, if Kentucky lost this game, a lot of people would be pointing to that and saying, wow, like how does Jackson Robinson miss that shot? That's why Kentucky lost. But they came out with this win. Kirk Kriisa was Kirk Kriisa.
Yeah,
he had his moments, but on the whole, just a really impressive win for Kentucky. Yes, they scored 18 more points off of threes than Duke did, but that's what Kentucky's going to try and do to you. They're going to try it. They only shot 25 threes today. I think they're going to try and shoot 28 to 32 threes per game this year. So if they can shoot 25 and beat Duke, making 40% of them, that's a really good sign. Jackson?
Oh, I totally agree. And that's, on top of the fact Jackson Robinson might be their best shooter. And like you just discussed, misses that huge one down the stretch. That's kind of the reason you bring him to Kentucky is to hit those shots. But I love what you mentioned about Owe. I think he's a monster. Watched him a lot at OU in the Big 12 last year. Really, really like him as kind of like your bulldog kind of guard that Mark Pope, I kind of get that vibe from him in general. I feel like Mark Pope's kind of a bulldog. So I think Owe is going to be a good fit for them. And Andrew Carr, like, I agree with you guys. Kind of not surprising necessarily if you saw what he could do last year, but he looked kind of like a bucket almost. And I wasn't expecting that personally. But to me, what jumps off the page about Kentucky is their experience. I think that's ultimately what won them the game tonight. Duke is obviously super young, super talented, and Kentucky's experience comes from a lot of different places, but at the end of the day, it's still experience.
Yeah, exactly. And then just kind of the way they closed out this game, you can tell that they'd been there before. And that Duke, for the most part, I mean, Malik Brown almost won this game for Duke.
Yeah, he made some real winning plays down the stretch there.
That's what Malik Brown has done for the past 2 seasons at Syracuse. And now he's going to keep doing it at Duke. He scored 0 points today. He almost won this game for Duke. He had 8 rebounds. He had a block. I know he was a -8, but like the guy had some ridiculous plays. Duke had 45 rebounds. They were +4 on the glass in this game, but they had some bad turnovers and missed some open shots.
Yeah, like I think there's a huge part of this where variance comes in and Duke doesn't go 4 of 22 from 3 or whatever it is. Like, I think this is going to end up being a team that shoots the ball pretty well. I do genuinely believe that. Like, they may not have like Kahn shot it poorly tonight. Proctor hit a couple. Foster, I don't think is like a terrible shooter. I don't think he's a great one either, but he certainly probably isn't going to shoot like that the rest of the season. Like, I think it comes down to that. You had 2 guys go out with injuries. Kaman obviously comes back late, but like at that point, like Kentucky had full control of the game. But yeah, like I thought James was great while he was in. He was attacking the basket. He was big in transition. He was completely walling up defensively. Losing him sucked. And like what sucked even more is like the way they lost him on just a complete BS illegal screen that gets missed. Like, obviously the refs didn't cost Duke this game by any means, but Duke led by 9 in an instant. Amari Williams sets an illegal screen on James. They miss it, and Kobe Brad drills a 3 to get it back to 6. Like, that could have been a huge swing in momentum. But yeah, like, just not enough guys stepped up tonight. They needed more from Foster. Proctor disappeared in the second half, and I know like they were deferring to Flag a lot, but like this game, Duke had their chances tonight to stretch it to 15, even 20, way before the injuries started piling up, and they didn't.
I'm with you. I mean, Duke played 8 guys tonight.
Yeah.
Duke is not an 8-guy team. Duke is a 10-guy team. Duke will have games where they'll play Darren Harris, where they'll in situations he's going to need to shoot. Mason Gillis shot 1 3-pointer tonight. Mason Gillis is one of their best shooters. He should be shooting more than 1 3 in a game where you're not hitting your shots. But I mean, he played 14 minutes, and he took 1 3. I think he should be taking at least 3 threes if he's playing 14 minutes in a game like this. And you mentioned it. Duke kept deferring to Cooper Flagg. There's not a problem with deferring to Cooper Flagg because Cooper Flagg, I mean, he scored 26 points and had 12 rebounds, and it's his 3rd college game. Like, who does that? Like, Michael Beasley does that. Kevin Durant does that. Carmelo does that. Like, those are the types of guys that do that.
I agree with that. And to go back to Jonathan's point about,
but I wasn't done. But
go ahead, Sam.
I think Duke made it obvious where the ball was going on those last few possessions.
Yeah, they did.
Obviously, Khan's not having a good night. You can't but maybe try and run a screen for somebody. Don't just try and have Cooper go one-on-one with Andrew Carr. Not that Andrew Carr is this awesome defender, but like you can do so much more than just have a one-on-one matchup for Cooper Flagg, who is very good offensively, but he's not the greatest one-on-one just go get you a bucket guy compared to some of the other like top recruits that we've seen. He's awesome. That's not the best part of his game. His offensive game isn't based on isolating and beating you one-on-one. He can, and there were times tonight that he did, but they should have opened up the playbook a little bit more. I get that John didn't have any timeouts, but Jackson, what did you want to say?
Well, I thought that there were times in the first half where I thought Duke was doing a lot of one-on-one. It kind of seemed like that was kind of the theme whenever their offense stalled it was heavy one-on-one, but Kahn's not going to shoot that poorly again. And you see a team, in the first game like Kansas, also going to be a really good shooting team this year, shot terribly. So maybe it's something to do with, playing in an NBA arena and you're not used to that. But I think Duke is going to be just fine. They're going to score a lot of points in a lot of games this year. And Cooper's going to be able to grow into a guy who you can go to down the stretch. But to your point, Sam, that's not his game. The stuff that jumps off the page about Cooper is his, honestly, like his defense is incredible. His ability to get steals and blocks, to pound those in the stat sheet. His arms are super long. He's going to be a pretty good finisher around the rim, but he's not going to take you off the dribble 3 possessions in a row, especially down the stretch. Andrew Carr's not an elite defender. I mean, probably not, but he's played in a lot of basketball games in college. And like you said, this is Cooper Flagg's 3rd game. So if you're a Duke fan, this is not sound the alarm territory, kind of a gross loss. I mean, you don't want to lose that way, but it will be just fine.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that there's going to be some reflection for Duke after this. But, Sam, you and I have talked about it the last 2 years. Duke in the first 2 years under John Shire has like massively grown throughout the season and gotten significantly better. And you wouldn't expect anything less with a team that's starting 3 freshmen. They are older than they typically are, thankfully, because of the transfer portal. But, this is a team that will get more accustomed to, what they're doing and the level of the speed of high-level college basketball as the year goes on.
I also want to see this rotation expand a little bit early in the season. I don't think Duke is going to, like I said this, Duke shouldn't be playing 8 guys. They're too talented top to bottom to be playing 8 guys. Maybe in this game I get it, but like you have Wofford next. I want to see 10 dudes in that rotation.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got to see Sion's injury first.
Yeah. Okay. If Sion's healthy, 10. If he's not, 9. But like, I think Duke's too talented to not at least have a chance to put Isaiah Evans or Darren Harris on the floor like this. Darren Harris was John Rothstein was talking about how awesome he was in practice. Yeah. We watched him dominate for Paul VI in the top high school games last year, and he can't get on the floor in this game. I get it, but in a game where they can really use that shooting, give him 2 minutes. Give him 2 minutes, see if he can hit 1 or 2 and kind of change the flow of the game.
Yeah, and then like the other kind of angle I want to get into here, and it's something that I tweeted like 10 minutes left, I think, in the game. And people are just kind of catching on now. John Calipari doesn't win that game.
No.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Like, I'm glad that like
Oregon is losing to Portland by 10.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, like Sam, like I know we talked about like that wouldn't have been Cal's roster if he was still coaching at Kentucky. He still would have lost that game if he had the Arkansas team, and it probably would have been by close to double digits. Like Pope made such good adjustments in the second half, especially like once.
Oh my God! Barrington Hargress spin move jumper. UC Riverside up by 3.
Pope made really good adjustments in the second half of that game, and that's something that like we saw last year. John Calipari failed to do time and time again, especially in the Champions Classic last year against Kansas, a game that Jackson was here with us to talk about. A big part of that Kansas win last year fell on John Calipari not making second half adjustments once Bill Self countered. And like, I'm not just gonna like sit here and spew bad narratives about Cal, even though it is,
we'll have plenty of time to do that.
A pretty, favorable activity on this podcast.
We'll have plenty of time to do that this year.
Listen, like when Mark Pope gets the Calipari level talent with his system and his in-game coaching, Kentucky is going to get back to like where they were in like the late 2010s with Cal.
I'm not sure Mark Pope is this like superstar coach. He's very good.
And that's all you have to be at Kentucky.
That might be enough.
And I think that's going to be enough for what Kentucky's going to do. 49 seconds left, by the way. Barrington Hargis has the ball. He crosses half court. 70-69, UC Riverside leads Cal Baptist. 20 on the shot clock. Hargis is just holding the ball near the logo. Mike Bagpaio looking for a big first win of the season. Hargis. Screen comes in from Armo Trading. Hargis is trapped. Gets it to Armo Trading down at the block. Armo Trading's hook shot is blocked by Kendall Coleman.
Dude, how do you know these players like off the top of your head?
That's what I'm thinking too.
Dude, I know Riverside pretty well. If I watched them, I would know Hargis.
So Dominique Daniels has the ball, and Cal Baptist needs a timeout. Rick Croy wants to talk it over.
Do we want to start getting into this Kansas-Michigan State game?
No. Are we done with Duke, Kentucky?
I mean, I feel like I've said my piece. Like, I don't think Duke loses if they don't have with the injuries, bad shooting luck, couple.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, also, I think Tyrese Proctor kind of no-showed the second half.
I can agree with that, and especially it seemed like they were trying to lean on him when they weren't leaning on Cooper. Of like, all right, Tyrese, you're our guy that's been here. You're supposed to be this Jeremy Roach type player. Like, let's see it. And it's not that he didn't come through, but it just kind of a no-show. I agree.
I do think that Shire moving Proctor off ball will probably help his game and Duke in the long run. And it looked like that early in the game. He just, kind of disappeared in the second half. And part of that was just that, they went to Cooper flag so many times.
All right, Jonathan, let's get into Michigan State and Duke. Michigan State and Kansas.
Which we played Michigan State.
Yeah. I got to find the final stats for this game. Shoot, Stat Broadcast is being a loser. All right, Jonathan, you start because I wasn't able to watch the most of this game.
Okay, so I missed the first half, but I watched most of the second half. Hunter Dickinson dominated. I think we kind of expected that with the big situation going on for Michigan State, and not to say that all of them were bad.
Cal Baptist is about to inbound.
Oh my god!
It's Brantley Stevenson inbounding the ball. He's guarded by Isaiah Moses.
I'm throwing this out.
Stevenson inbounds. They get it into Dominique Daniels. 13 seconds on the clock. He crosses the timeline. Here's the screen from Coleman to the corner. Open three. That one's no good. And it's rebounded by UC Riverside. Moses takes it the other way and runs out the clock. Mike Bagpaio and the Highlanders take their first win of the season on the road in the battle for Riverside.
Dude,
an intercity victory for UC Riverside. Sam Silverstein had a wide open three, the Harvard transfer, with a chance to win it, and he couldn't make it.
You know where he played high school basketball, by the way, Sam?
Glencoe.
New Trier. So yeah, just to finish my thought, Dickinson dominated. We kind of figured he would because Michigan State just doesn't have good defensive centers. It actually looks like Michigan State may have something in Jackson Kohler, at least offensively. I never thought he was a good defensive prospect, but he's developed into a nice player for them. The thing that I noticed about watching Michigan State, if you watch Michigan State in 2019 when Cassius was a junior, and you watch them now or even the last couple years, what Izzo's doing schematically isn't that different, nor do I think it's outdated. Their players just aren't as good. Sure, I don't think Izzo is as good of an in-game coach all the time as he was in 2019 when he was considered one of the best in the sport. But like, I don't think Fiddler was terrible for them tonight, but taking like one transfer and I guess Zapala is not going to be enough in this day and age. Like, Michigan State will always be, at least under Tom Izzo, an internal development driven program. And like, we see that with Fears, we see that with Carr, we see that with Booker. Not that those guys are all like developing into these substantial players, but like, you need to get impact guys from the portal, and they haven't done that at like the greatest level, especially in the front court. Like, it's just Izzo didn't like. I don't think Izzo got out coached tonight, but it does seem that like Izzo gets out coached now way more than he ever used to.
I honestly thought Izzo like kind of out coached himself at the end of this game. Like, he put in a bunch of strange lineups in the final couple minutes. I remember I sent you what the lineup was. It was Fears, Fiddler, Carr, Kohler, Zapala. That's like 1.5 ball handlers when you really need scoring late in the game. And then Richardson, Cooper, and Holloman come in. Like, are we sure that these are the best lineups for Michigan State down the stretch of a game? Like, are we sure? I think he kind of tried to outthink the room with some of these lineups, and it ended up backfiring.
Like, I feel like Izzo, like the recipe that he used to have is like, he would, first of all, he always would have like an elite playmaking point guard. Like, even if it wasn't a Cassius Winston level point guard, it was a guy that can make plays. And like, he would surround that with like not only shooting, but like a big man that like was physical and could guard and knew his role.
Big man since Jaren Jackson. Well, since Tillman.
I mean, he had Tillman, but like
Tillman hasn't had a good big man since Tillman.
Like, it doesn't feel like, for what Michigan State does, they have had the personnel for the last like 4 years.
No, they haven't. They straight up haven't. Like, was Xavier Booker supposed to be this great big man? He's like a wing now.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll just say,
like, he's talented, but like he's like a wing. Like, what was the thought process there? Like, he scored 0 points today. He's 6'11", 240 pounds.
He took 4 threes. Why?
He took one shot inside the arc.
Like, Sam, this is like something that you pointed out with him in high school. Like, you said like he's not physical. Like, he gets pushed off the block a lot, and like now it's just become that he doesn't go inside.
Like, Michigan State, if Frankie Fiddler is going to be their best scorer,
they might miss the NCAA tournament.
I think Frankie Fiddler is solid. Like, that's all he is. He's a solid player. I've kind of liked Jeremy Fears. He's been solid. But like, I remember I said on the pod preseason, like the Michigan State, the best Michigan State scenario was like a Jeremy Fears mega breakout. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think my counter to that was if they get the Jeremy Fears mega breakout, how is it any different than last year when like Tyson Walker was your best player?
Exactly. Like, this is I don't think Michigan State has a best player.
Like, I will say that like before we let Jackson get into the Kansas side of this, that like it's like, if you're Michigan State, like the positive thing you can take away from this is like, if you went into this game and knew you were getting a 1 of 13 night combined from Booker and Akins, like, you probably expected to lose by a lot more. But like, we'll get into this now. This is also like
Zach Clemens played 2 minutes for Kansas.
This is also like far from Final Form Kansas.
Yeah, Jackson, what were your takeaways from the KU side of this game?
From the KU side, it's just good to see that Hunter Dickinson's still Hunter Dickinson. There was no doubt about that, but it's always nice to like, I mean, he played a very nice game against North Carolina, but this was a different type of dominance from start to finish that he showed. The the defense stuff with him is still an issue. And the way Kansas is trying to combat it this year is essentially by bringing in weak side help from the corner defender and really sagging them all the way to the paint, because Hunter's too slow to get back on these pick and rolls. He'll hard hedge, he'll soft hedge. Either way, it doesn't matter. He's too slow. We've watched it happen for 5 years. He's too slow on these pick and rolls. So, and like Michigan State, built a house with all these bricks tonight. So that's a fine game plan against a team like Michigan State. But the thing to watch with them defensively going forward is how many open threes are they going to give up off of trying to help out Hunter so much because he's so damn slow. But offensively, this team's going to be awesome. I don't think Bill Self knows who he likes better between Ryland Griffin and AJ Story yet. I think that's an okay problem to have. But I think it was obvious tonight, too, especially those two specifically, as I was watching, in and out pretty quickly and a lot. Playing AJ Story with 4 fouls, that's Bill Self, not a really big yank a guy with 2, yank a guy with 3 quick in the second half, coach. But I'm not sure what the rotations are going to look like even 2 weeks from now. They could be completely different than what we saw tonight. So definitely still a team in progress, but the foundation of Hunter and just the steadiness of DeJuan, his and one towards the end tonight was really, really nice. He's been shooting a lot better in practice, I know for sure. He's taking more in like scrimmage type situations, and even in the exhibition against Arkansas. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he was really stepping into some shots there. So with all of the transfer portal additions, I can talk about Zeke Mayo for 10 minutes, but there's a lot of options for this team to score 80 plus a game, honestly.
Agree. Yeah. Look, Hunter Dickinson, we said it on Sunday night, like he's just going to score 20, 25, 12 rebounds, 10 rebounds every game, no matter what. Like Kansas loses by 20, wins by 20. He's going to have the same stat line. So I really don't think Hunter Dickinson is like the reason Kansas is going to win or lose games this year.
I totally agree with you.
It's everything else. Like Hunter Dickinson is a constant. Yes. You don't win games because of constants against talented teams. Look, you'll win games against constants against Howard. Right. Who they play next? Oakland. They'll win because Hunter Dickinson is better than who's Oakland center.
You would know. I don't.
Guru Navi, not him. UNC Wilmington, Harlan Obioha. That's actually a fun matchup. But yeah, they're gonna win because Hunter is better than Harlan. Like they're gonna win that game. Kansas plays Duke November 26th. Like they're not gonna win that game because of Hunter Dickinson. Hunter Dickinson will score 24 points and have 11 rebounds, but they're not gonna win that game because of Hunter Dickinson. They're not gonna lose that game because of Hunter Dickinson. He's going to do what he does, and he's going to give up some points on the defensive end as well, especially when Duke goes small. If they go Cooper at the 5, Malik at the 5, they're going to hemorrhage points in ball screens and short rolls.
I have this vision of Kansas in my head that they get to a point this year where these the transfers and even Passmore as a wing, figure it out to the point where you can sit Dickinson for stretches and play Adams at the 5 and just play really, really fast.
Do you think obviously you can't really get away with Adams and Bidunga for long stretches because they're.
You muted yourself.
There's not enough on the offensive side to get away with Adams and Bidunga. But I just want to see that lineup for 6 minutes a game for just the defense.
I think Flory is an incredible talent. I mean, I think there's a path for him where he's top 10 pick in the NBA draft this year. And it's an obvious Hunter Dickinson is so, like you said, constant. It is a drop off going to Flory. But I don't think the players feel that when Flory checks in for Hunter. Whereas last year, when Hunter checked out, that's mayhem for Kansas last year. I mean, they had 4 players that were worth anything last year. And so now you're bringing Flory Bidunga off the bench. Like, that's a whole different animal. And I think the guys feel that. KJ Adams is the most polarizing figure in Kansas sports right now. What's up?
They had 4 when Kevin McCullough got hurt.
Right.
Let's not do Kevin McCullough erasure. That was Kansas.
I will never do Kevin McCullough erasure.
That was Kansas' best player last year.
It wasn't even close last year, but I'm like,
no, he was a first team All-American if he stayed healthy.
He should have been an All-American anyway. He didn't even miss that many games.
Oh, I voted him All-America.
Thanks. That's a good vote. That's a good vote.
I have a vote for the USBWA All-American. Like, I have a vote. He was on it.
That's good to hear. Smart man. That's why they give you a vote, bro. But I mean, the depth of this team is just so different than it was last year that you can feel it in Lawrence. It's a palpable thing. And then we haven't even seen Shaquille Moore yet. Diggy Coit is going to hit shots, but Shaquille Moore is going to also come off the bench and hit shots. He hasn't even been in the game yet. A lot of people are talking about the starting 5 because Kansas does have 7 starters in a way. You can look at it. But, I mean, it's Bill Self. The starting 5 doesn't matter. It's about the closing 5 with him always. And that's going to vary different games. You saw a lot of A.J. Storr down the stretch against North Carolina. Not a ton of him down the stretch. Obviously, it was a lot of Hunter tonight, but it's going to vary. And I don't think that Kansas fans should freak out about that because, despite the past couple seasons, the variance this year is actually a good thing because you've got talent and you have shooting, the important thing. I want to see 4 guards and Hunter in there and have the KJ minutes are very polarizing right now in KU in Jayhawk world because, he's a fan favorite. He's one of the, foundations of this program right now, but he's played a lot recently in the past recent years because Kansas hasn't been super talented. Kansas is uber talented this year. So that's another thing to watch out for. What's going to happen with KJ Adams?
I just hope Kentucky fans don't find the TikTok video where I was basically saying the only way Kentucky wins is if they shoot the crap out of the ball. I mean, they kind of did.
They shot 40%. I mean, the other 3 teams tonight, dude, were terrible shooting. Kentucky,
40%. That would, are you at all worried about that for Kansas or?
No, because, I mean, they shot so well against North Carolina in spurts. Kansas shoots
6 for 21.
Sorry?
They were 6 for 21 against North Carolina.
In spurts, where this is my whole point. This is going to be a big momentum team. This team is going to be a team of runs. And you didn't really see that against Michigan State tonight because there was never a run to get off to. There was never once where Kansas had a big momentum shift. But I really think that's going to be kind of how this season shakes up for them is can you get hot at the right times? And can you, like you said, you just have to pencil in Hunter for 24 and 11. And can you get enough from DeJuan? And can you get enough from Zeke Mayo? Is he going to actually create his own shot? Or is he just going to be a catch and shoot shooter? Because if he's just going to be a catch and shoot guy and not create, then Kansas is the same team as they were last year. So I think Kansas needs to shoot a lot more threes. And like I said, the reason I don't think they're shooting very well right now is because KJ Adams is clogging a lot of things up. There's not a whole lot of room. You're sagging completely off of KJ. Now Hunter's double teamed, and the other 3 guys don't have to help off their guy to help Hunter because KJ's in, and KJ is not a threat outside of 4 feet away from the basket. I think if you're Kansas, you just say screw defense. I'm just going to try and score 85 points a game because you have KJ in there essentially for defense. But I think he's such a he's getting close to being a negative on offense. When you look at the rest of the guys on the bench, you have AJ Storr, Zeke Mayo, and Rylan Griffin on the bench. You're running around KJ Adams. It's hard to be like, yeah, this is exactly what we should be doing right now.
Jonathan, anything?
Yeah, the thing I just keep coming back to is it's going to be interesting how they use Adams all year, kind of like Jackson said, because at this point, and I know I know Adams doesn't want to do it, and I know Bill Self doesn't want to do it, but the best we've seen in KJ Adams' career is him playing the 5, and you're not pulling Hunter Dickinson off the floor to play KJ Adams at the 5, at least not a ton. So you're going to have to figure out how to play this front court together how to maximize their skill set. And like the other thing is like it's kind of like concerning if you're not like if you're a Kansas hater or not a Kansas fan, that like Kansas is like getting this right now out of AJ Storr, like a lot of people thought were going to be their best player, and like still, beating UNC, winning this game semi comfortably. It's scary what this team can become.
Yes.
Yeah, like I think AJ Storr is going to have nights. North Carolina was Zeke Mayo's night. And Rylan Griffin's going to have nights where he goes 6 for 9 from 3, and Diggy Coit's going to have a night, and But I think you're right. I think AJ is going to have the most nights out of all of those guys. And, from what I hear from a lot of people, in the program right now, he's not comfortable yet. He's just not in this offense. He hasn't made the transition as well as Diggy and as well as Zeke had. And I think Ryland's in the same boat, which is why I think Bill is kind of torn on which guy to go to right now.
And like when Shaquille Moore comes back, whenever that is, like that should help out the defense in the backcourt. That's a tough-nosed guard. Like I don't like, obviously DeJuan can really guard, but I don't think any of the other guards kind of bring what Moore brings on that level.
Yeah, I totally
Arizona next week. That is next Friday. That's like the next big game for these teams. Kentucky has Lipscomb on Tuesday. It's going to be a good one. Lipscomb is good. They lost to Belmont tonight. I didn't even see that. Jonathan Pierre with 20 points. Remember him from Memphis last year. I think he's going to be really good.
He was first team all conference for me in my MVC preview.
Yeah, didn't have a great start first 2 games, but big game today. Agnesevich at 28. But yeah, Kentucky's going to kill Lipscomb, but it's going to be a fun game.
The X's and O's in that game is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Both those coaches can.
Lenny Acuff. I had to search around for his name for a second. I got him confused with the Stetson coach, Donnie Jones, for some reason. Just A-Sun stuff. But yeah, Lenny Acuff is really good. Everyone thinks Lenny Acuff is one of the smartest coaches they talk about in college basketball. But yeah, so Duke, Arizona is next week. Then Duke, Kansas. Duke has Auburn too. Duke has all those games in the in Vegas. Does Duke have 1 game in Vegas or 3?
1.
Kansas is the Vegas one.
Okay, yeah, they're not in Players Era.
They play Arizona and then they go to Vegas to play Kansas.
Okay, I was just making sure they weren't in the Players Era.
Yeah. Kansas still has 2 road games against Creighton and Mizzou too, and non-con. So, even after that Duke game,
don't worry about Mizzou.
I'm not. That's just it is a road game, but I'm excited for the Creighton game. That's Mizzou. I don't know. Mizzou is not impressive.
Kansas minus 25.
Kansas is only -5 on KenPom right now against Mizzou. That line should be multiplied by at least 3.
Dude, like Kansas is the funny thing is like the way that Kansas beat Mizzou 2 years ago at Mizzou was like they are going to come out with the same game plan.
Yeah, it's going to be the same game.
Literally nothing's worse.
Except Mizzou is actually bad this year, and they were actually good 2 years ago.
Kansas is just going to like attack from the corners, and like that's how they're going to score. And like bold prediction right now, Kansas will score no less than 1.25 points per possession against Mizzou.
Do you know how many points per possession they scored in that game 2 years ago?
What was it?
1.25.
I did not know that.
All right. The other stuff from tonight, it's time to get into it. St. Joe's figured out what sport they play, or did they just play against Kyle and Neptune?
He has so many nicknames right now. It's like hard to keep track of all of them.
The Big Five is a joke right now.
Oh,
except LaSalle. LaSalle
just saw the
thing. You could never make me like not watch those Big Five games because those atmospheres are so good.
Agreed. Yeah. Temple with a win over Drexel. But getting back to Joe's, Eric Reynolds basically didn't score in this game until midway through the second half.
Correct. I mean, like, listen.
They did play a lot of Dixon at the 5 in this game, because Boyaki wasn't a fit, and Njoku only played 10 minutes because, like, it's not a Njoku if you play him more than 10 minutes. Like, that's a problem.
My thoughts.
But, like, Dixon, like, they want to play Dixon at the 4 this year. Like, Boyake has to be better than what he gave today. And look, Matt Hodge better be a freaking All-American if Kyle Neptune wants to keep his
He's
job.
got to get eligible first.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's going to get eligible at some point. He better be an All-American for Kyle Neptune to keep his job at this point.
Right. And, like, on the St. Joe's side of this,
Not
like, my thoughts around St. Joe's,
obviously not an All-American.
my thoughts around St. Joe's remain unchanged. Like, they messed around with Navy, they lost to Central, and then they beat Nova. Like,
that's what they are.
If I told you that was going to happen like a week and a half ago, you would have.
I would have said that is exactly what I think is going to happen, because I'm pretty sure I did think that was exactly what was going to happen.
Like this is like St. Joe's last year opened the season with blowout wins over Lafayette and Stonehill, and then beat Penn, and then they proceeded to score 54 points and lose at home to Texas A&M Commerce. Like, this is the exact same team that they were last year.
St. Joe's goes to the Palestra on Friday. That game is going to be like 97-93.
Dude, Penn is a tough watch right now.
Because Penn is physically incapable of playing a game that is not decided by one possession.
So let me just say one more thing. So you think is Penn going to beat Nova?
No.
So
I wouldn't go there so fast.
Like, should Nova just is it over?
Yes.
That's crazy.
It's over.
I mean, Eric Dixon's a really good player.
Yeah, Eric Dixon. I texted in the group chat today. Petition to call Nova on the podcast. Eric Dixon and 12 of his goofball friends.
I mean, this is a crazy fall for Nova. I mean, I watched the end, I was watching on my phone, the end of the Columbia game. And then I just looked as you guys talking about St. Joe's. I'm like, who'd St. Joe's play? Nova. Okay. That's all.
By the way, shout out Columbia.
Yeah.
4-0 for the first time since 2006, I think it is. Like, they're gonna get to like 9-0. They're gonna get, holy crap, they could get to 13-0.
Rank them.
They do not play anybody until Rutgers on December 30th. Do you want to hear their schedule?
Yes.
Mercyhurst, at LIU, Stony Brook, who is down to 301 in KenPom. That feels a little low.
Okay.
Especially, well, I mean, yeah, they won their winnable game. They got blown out in their two mostly non-winnable games. New Hampshire, who just lost to Fairfield. Albany away, which should probably be a win, considering I think Dwayne Killings can't coach. Or maybe not can't coach, but is not very good right now. Then two non-D1s, U.S. Merchant Marine and Sarah Lawrence. Then at Presbyterian.
Those are not real schools.
Presbyterian's a real school. Presbyterian might be the D1 that we've talked about the least.
The least on this pod? That's a good take.
I genuinely don't think we've mentioned them once in the last 4 years of this pod. Then home against Fairfield. That's December 28th. Then December 30th, they play Rutgers at Rutgers. What are the odds they're 13-0 going into that?
Better question. If they win the Rutgers game, how many regular season games would Columbia have to win to get net large?
Wow.
Well, would they be undefeated going into that?
Let's assume for this argument's sake, yes.
If Columbia is 14-0, by the way, they would be like,
because then they start Ivy League play.
Yes.
Right.
3 max?
Yeah, like does 20, what would it be? 25-3?
It would be 26-4.
Would their Rutgers win be better than any of Indiana State's wins last year? I can't remember Indiana State's
Yeah,
schedule.
it would be in a way.
Probably like Indiana State beat Drake, but like
that's a conference game.
Mhm.
Teams
like it would be like
conference.
Indiana State beating Drake would like as much as like you could argue that like
But
Drake
they also lost to Drake.
Huh?
They also lost to Drake.
Yeah, and like the thing is, as much as you could argue like Indiana State beating Drake could end up being a better win, like at the same time, people won't open their eyes to that like they would if Columbia went to Rutgers and won.
Correct.
Like the vibes around that would just be different.
Right. Yeah.
Look, Columbia's going to lose one of these games. I don't know which one. They're going to lose one of these next 7 games against their D1 opponents before Rutgers. I don't think they go into Rutgers undefeated because I'm going to be at that game. I'm going to be at that game at Rutgers. I might be at that game at Fairfield 2 days earlier. It just depends on what time the Lehigh Columbus high school game is, because I'm not missing my chance to see the Boozers plus Cayenne.
Fair.
I mean, I am seeing Cayenne against Sierra Canyon December 15th, but that should be fun. UBS.
Were there any notable bye game losses that we missed tonight?
I don't think anyone lost.
I mean, Indiana State lost to like fucking SIU.
Big win, by the way. My Northeast mid-major game of the day was LaSalle Cornell. Corey McKeithen, 25. Since when can Corey McKeithen score 25 points? Where was this last year?
Dude, how about LaSalle to start the season?
LaSalle's legit, like right now.
13-point win over American, 21-point win over Lafayette, 16-point win over Cornell.
This is surprising. Do you know how many points per possession LaSalle had today? 1.24. I don't expect that ever from LaSalle. LaSalle goes to Drexel, then they have that. Then they have an MTE with UC San Diego as the first game. Those are 2 tests.
I remember listening to
not great, but that's a tough game.
I remember listening to the 3-man weave A10 preview, and like the thing they said about LaSalle was pretty much just like Dunphy will find a way not to finish last in this league. Like, and I'm just like, what if this team's just like that bad? They are not that bad.
Deuce Jones, the freshman, 15-8-4. He rules. Was
he someone we mentioned with the PDT?
I don't know if I mentioned him with PDT, but I mentioned him at some point over the offseason. Just
name sounds very familiar.
Player. Like Jaleel White and Andres Marrero were like supposed to be 2 of their better guys this year. They didn't do too much today. McKeith, like, and they don't even have Eric Acker yet. Like, they don't have him for the first, I think, semester.
What are the odds Rothstein has Ashanti Leggins tweet in his drafts right now?
Oh, God. Shante Leggins is a gimmick.
Coach Gimmick rankings.
Great coach.
At some point on the spot.
Unfortunately, the idea of Shante Leggins is greater than Georgia had no problem with North Florida.
That's a win for the Jonathan Lidskin Twitter world.
You know what I found fascinating? Justin Abson is playing 21% of the minutes.
Yeah, that is weird to me.
Holy Ken Palm spells Santo Cyril the long way.
I mean, did you see what RJ Godfrey did tonight?
I did. 21 points, 12 rebounds.
And this Georgia team looks good, and they haven't even gotten Deshane Montgomery back yet.
And I remember I said I think Deshane could be their best player.
Demery has taken a step. Kane has taken a step. Newell looks great. Team's good.
Hey, guess the St. Mary's score.
85. It's final, right?
Yes, it's final.
85-67.
87-68. You're so good at this.
I'm so good at this.
That's ridiculous.
Jackson, he does this like all the time.
That's nuts.
I will ask him the score of a St. Mary's game while it's happening, and he will guess the score like really well.
It's usually easier when we do this. Like, it's usually a
just
lot
St. Mary's. Only St. Mary's, no other team.
It's usually a lot easier when we do this 14 minutes into a game because like they're always up like 29 to like 12.
That is kind of how they roll. Yeah.
But
Shout out Old Dominion. They were down 26-4 in the first 10 minutes today.
dude, can we need to like mark that take that I had.
Sean Dura-Gordon with 9 offensive rebounds.
Losing by
I think at a point, if you have that many offensive rebounds, something is fundamentally wrong with the offense. He had 9. Everybody else on the team had 3 total.
This team is so funny, man.
It is a hilarious roster. Rob Davis from UMass, RJ Blakeney from Dayton, Stephon Walker from Robert Morris, Callum Swanton-Roger from Maryland.
And like the funny thing is, like
tonight did not take a shot and had 4 turnovers.
And the funny thing is, like most people thought like Mike Jones was a really good hire for them. Like no,
I liked the hire.
No, from the area, knows the DMV well.
I liked the hire at the time. He put together the Looney Tunes roster.
Hey, the Looney Tunes. Hey. The Looney Tunes are 1-0.
The Looney Tunes went 1-0.
I don't know what this team's first win's going to be. If they play Eastern Shore.
Sure how aren't meeting the Monstars.
If they lose to Eastern Shore on Friday, oh boy.
Dude, Eastern Shore lost by 18 to Miami, Ohio today.
Dude.
Do you know who scored 14 points for Miami, Ohio?
Antoine
Woolfolk.
Oh, God.
Rutgers legend. TCU kind of screwed around with Texas State.
Yeah, they did.
They're going to be so bizarre this year.
That was Texas State without Tyrell Morgan.
This is a really bizarre TCU roster.
They're
and like
weird.
I erred on the side of like Jamie Dixon's a good coach, he'll figure it out. Like
right.
But like TCU is a tough place to win. And like it's probably looking back, like in hindsight, I don't want to like overreact, but like it's tough to be consistently a tournament team every year there.
Providence really screwed around with Hampton.
Dude, the Big East keeps screwing around.
Dude, Noah Farrakhan was 5 for 17 from the field in this game.
I don't know like what the matchups are for the Big 12 Big East battle coming up, but like the Big 12 has got to be like
BYU.
The Big 12's got to be like -3.5 in that challenge.
UCF scored 100 on FAU. Pretty clear that John Jacobs was not the defensive mind in Waco.
I mean,
we knew that. We knew that already. He's the offensive mind, and they have scored 97, 99, and 94 in 3 games.
How many did Moretti have tonight for them? 9?
9.
Oh, I saw a tweet.
They're playing at warp speed.
I saw a tweet from a certain someone last week that he was better than Janelle Davis. So,
hello, JJ Metz. Actually, JJ Metz wouldn't say that anyone's better than Janelle Davis.
No, he did.
Matas Vokat Matas. He has 10 points in all 3 games. Literally, exactly 10 points in all 3 games. Pretty good start for him.
Like,
I think the Big East might win 1 game.
Well, like Benny Williams had 17 and 7.
Whoever UConn plays. Does UConn play Houston?
It's UConn Baylor. I think that's the only one they can get.
UConn Baylor at UConn.
Kansas is at Creighton, who I don't think is like all that great.
Okay.
Would you like
K-State at St. John's is interesting. I think that's
would
another
you like
one
to guess the Mustafa Thiem stat line?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I'm not on Ken Palm right now, I promise.
Go. The Mustafa Thiem stat line.
4 points.
Nope.
Well, I didn't think I was going to get it exactly right.
Okay,
like,
go.
Let me go. 4 points, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 turnovers, no assists, 1 for 4 from the field.
18 minutes, 0 points, 0 for 2 from the field, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, 4 fouls.
Oh, I forgot to do the fouls guest.
We knew it was going to be 4 or 5. So,
Well, yeah.
Dior Johnson, 9 minutes, 0 points.
Hope he plays 0.
Dior Johnson has not scored a Division I point.
Good.
Dior Johnson was like a class of 2022 recruit, right?
To say something nice about UCF, by the way, like this is.
But yeah, like they won this game. They won this game.
More than
Keyshawn Hall is awesome.
More than ideal start to the season for them. Like Hall's good. We knew that. Ivy Curry played really well tonight. Darius Johnson can be a bucket. Like if you're Johnny Dawkins, you could not be like more thrilled with these first 3 games.
All right.
We
last take from tonight. Anything from any of you guys? Oh, I want to say Iona got 31 offensive rebounds tonight. Iona was plus 15 in shot volume. Iona shot 23, I think, % from the field. Was that what it was? 22? Well, no, it was.
I mean, if you thought Kansas Michigan State was ugly, wait till you see this Iona game.
It was 22 for 73. 30% from the field. 30% from the field. 30% from the field. They lost to Delaware by 6.
I'll throw out a couple to close this out. First of all, like last 2 possessions were bad, but like if you came away from tonight thinking that like Cooper Flagg is anything worse than like the 3rd or 4th best player in the country, you didn't watch the game close enough.
Guy had 26 and 12 in his first college game, like 3rd college game.
Just like real college
blocks.
Yeah. And then we won't get into a full Valley update, but it was a much needed night for the league overall. Belmont beating Lipscomb was big. Illinois State looked good. Valpo lost to Cleveland State, which is not great, but like they needed a couple of those. They won the more high profile games tonight, and even with the bad Indiana State and Valpo losses, it was a plus night for the league.
All right, tomorrow night, not much big time action, but we have North Texas, Minnesota, Louisiana Tech against UMass, Hofstra, Seton Hall, Cal, Vandy, Bonaventure against FGCU, and Auburn plays, Houston plays.
Is North Texas plays. I know you're probably looking at Ken Palm. Do you know if North Texas is favored against Minnesota?
They're plus 3 on Ken Palm.
Okay, well Minnesota's supposed to be down like 4 starters, I think.
It's 1.5 on ESPN right now.
That might be North Texas might be favored in that game by tip.
I am off in terms of attending games until Saturday. I have 3 days off.
Oh, speaking of that, I won my Fetterman bet tonight.
Congratulations, Litzke.
Back to 2-2.
Did the Bulls play tonight?
Not to my knowledge.
I don't think they did.
Although tonight would have been a great night to tweet the Cooper Flagg.
Also, tonight's the NBA Cup, so
they play the Knicks tomorrow. 8.5-point dogs.
It's the NBA Cup. It doesn't count.
It still counts towards the record.
Does it?
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
The NBA Cup counts towards your record?
Yeah.
If you came, go, Jonathan.
All right. If you came to hear about Tyler Self and where he's working, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about the disaster of a UCF team that somehow is 3-0, you came to the right place. And if you came to hear about the latest happenings with Caleb Grill, who had 33-9 last night, you came to the right place. This is season 5, episode 35 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. We'll see you next time.